The drama starts with Lee-han, in a scene set in 2012. His friend Sho-jin was in terrible condition, and Lee-han rushed him to the hospital, begging the doctor to save his best friend's life. Lee-han kept recalling the horrible moment when Sho-jin was beaten right in front of him, and even after being thrashed like a villain's dummy in an action movie, those guys weren't satisfied. They threw him from the top floor to the bottom. Lee-han was spirally hung into anxiety, wondering what would happen if Sho-jin didn't survive. Meanwhile, the doctor explained that surgery was critical because Sho-jin had injuries all over his body and, just to make things worse, he wouldn't be able to return to athletics at all. Leon begged them to do whatever it took to save his friend. After the surgery, Sho-jin was sitting in a wheelchair while Lee-han moved a little way to talk to his dad. He told his dad that as soon as Sho-jin's condition improved a bit and he was stable, he planned to move abroad. He mentioned that the doctor said Sho-jin would be discharged the next day. But as soon as Lee-han finished talking and turned back toward his friend, he noticed the wheelchair was completely empty. He rushed to the wheelchair and found only a mobile phone there. In pure panic mode, he ran around, searching everywhere, but Sho-jin was nowhere to be seen. The story jumped to 2025, where a mystery lighthouse system was about to activate in 3 days, and its countdown had already started. During this countdown, our female lead, Shin, was getting ready. Her dad's assistant called, scolding her for not going to work again. Shin casually dismissed her assistant's concerns about missing work, saying her star presence made others uncomfortable anyway. She didn't reveal her location and ended the call because she was actually partying at a club with friends. When teased about her boyfriend, Shin confidently said he'd join soon. Soon Boyo messaged that he was at the entrance. Proudly, Shin showed the message to her friends and went out to greet him. Boyo seemed relieved, saying he had tried looking for her inside but couldn't find her. She brought him in and introduced him to her friends, who were all charmed by his looks. Although they pushed him to drink, he politely refused, citing an alcohol allergy, something Shin confirmed for him. One of her friends inquired about Boyo's job, but Shin answered on his behalf, boasting about his impressive background. Boyo excused himself from the restroom, but on his return, a mysterious girl approached him. He looked shocked and tried to avoid her, but she kept pressing. Shin, brought there by her suspicious friend to witness this unexpected reunion, watched it all unfold. Her friend whispered that this same girl was Boyo's ex and was involved in scandals, including a viral video. The friend admitted he staged this to show Shin the truth. Shin spotted a hidden photographer capturing the scene, stormed over, seized the camera and confronted Boyo, demanding an explanation. Boyo insisted it was all a misunderstanding, but Shin accused the girl of using their names for clout. The girl, exposed, quickly fled. Shin was about to leave too, but Boyo followed, begging her to listen. Outside, she coldly handed him her car keys and asked him to bring the car. Her friend reappeared, questioning her trust in Boyo. Shin simply said, "Sometimes you have to choose to trust." Later, she asked Boyo directly if he liked her, and he reassured her with a quick yes, denying any connection with the girl. Meanwhile, the mysterious lighthouse system countdown showed 2 days and 12 hours remaining. The next day, Shin visited her friend Rui's restaurant. Rui noticed they were both wearing identical scarves. They chatted briefly and Rui mentioned business was booming thanks to Shin's investment, and she planned to open another branch. Shin offered more help, but Rui declined, wanting to save up on her own by working night shifts. As Rui left, Shin teased her for wearing a fake scarf. Rui laughed it off. Later, while working, Rui overheard gossip doubting how someone like her could be friends with someone rich like Shin. This upset her. Shin arrived again, sensed something was wrong, and offered Rui a new scarf as a gift, noticing she looked exhausted. Rui hesitated but eventually accepted it. Shin then told her Boyo would drop her off, which both Rui and Boyo agreed to. Shin left, but noticed later that Rui had left the scarf behind. She decided to give it to her personally that night. When she returned to Rui's restaurant, she overheard Rui talking to someone, Boyo. They were discussing the new branch plan together. Boyo was also telling her that as soon as she got the new branch, they would leave Shin, because both were taking advantage of her. Shin overheard everything and felt very upset after hearing her friend talk like this. While sitting in the restaurant, Rui came out happily. When Rui saw Shin, she made a very innocent face and went to her asking how she was there. Shin told her that she came to give the scarf which Rui had left behind. Rui said that maybe she forgot it there and went to bring something to drink for her. While Rui was bringing something to drink, Shin suddenly asked if Boyo left after dropping her. Hearing this, Rui became completely silent and then replied yes. When Rui came near Shin, she asked Rui directly what her relationship with Boyo was. After overhearing Rui and Boyo's conversation, Shin realized Rui had been hiding things and confronted her. Rui immediately panicked, apologized, and explained she was just trying to push Boyo away, but he wouldn't leave. Hurt and angry, Rui accused Shin of using her, despite their close friendship and Shin's investment in her restaurant. Shin denied any bad intentions and said Rui was only apologizing out of fear she might withdraw her investment. When Rui kept begging, Shin declared she would now definitely pull the investment. As Shin turned to leave, Rui threatened to jump if Shin took one more step. Shin paused, but continued walking without looking back. Rui stood there, watching. Meanwhile, the mysterious lighthouse countdown ticked down to 1 day and 16 hours. Later, Shin sat alone, heartbroken, ignoring Boyo's calls, until she finally answered one. Boyo said Rui had gone missing. Alarmed, Shin rushed to the bridge, where Rui had threatened to jump. Boyo, also present, asked why she'd been ignoring him. Shin replied she knew everything about him and Rui, leaving him speechless. Shin texted her dad for help, explaining Rui's threat and her guilt. Soon after, her father's assistant, Shin, called and met her in person. He acted like it was their first meeting, confusing Shin. When she asked for help, Jin started asking philosophical questions about her life and purpose, which frustrated her. He finally gave her a phone, claiming it was safer for communication, and revealed he had access to her personal messages, showing proof by quoting her private message to her dad. Shin was shocked but accepted the phone. Later, at home, she waited for Shin's call, which came quickly. He claimed to have found Rui but insisted on meeting in person to explain. The call abruptly turned eerie, and a voice told her to reach a location within 15 minutes via the bridge, warning that the lighthouse would activate soon. While rushing there, Shin kept calling Shin, but the call dropped again. Distracted and angry, she crashed her car, which nearly fell into the water. At the same time, the lighthouse and the new phone both activated. Suddenly, the story shifted to 2018. Lee-han, who had been researching his missing friend Shojin, noticed the lighthouse activation and believed Shojin had returned. Meanwhile, Shin woke up after her accident in an unfamiliar place. Though her name was correct on the ID, the city listed wasn't hers. Her phone was dead, and she had limited money. She fainted but was found by a woman named Jang, who claimed to have found her on a mountain road and was giving her a lift. Though Shin was uneasy at first, Jang showed her ID and allowed her to use an old phone. There was no signal due to the remote location, so Shin had to wait. At a roadside store, Shin tried making a call. Unable to remember Jin's number, she called her dad's number. But a man named Lee-han answered, not her father. Confused, Shin checked the phone and noticed the date said 2018. Shocked, she checked the calendar and product expiry dates. Everything confirmed she had somehow traveled back from 2025 to 2018. Disturbed, she left the store to return to the car. Meanwhile, Lee-han, who had answered her call, traced the number back to the store and realized a strange girl had just used the public phone, hinting that he was about to discover Shin's presence, while Shin sat with Zhang in the car again, crying a lot. Zhang offered Shin a place to stay, sensing she had nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, Lee-han arrived at the mysterious lighthouse location, only to find fresh blood. He anxiously called out for Shojin, his missing friend, but the area gave no clues. Just vibes straight out of a low-budget horror movie. Shin, on the other hand, went to Zhang's house, only to get jump-scared by a child who turned out to be mentally unwell. Zhang was kind, but her daughter didn't greet Shin and made it clear she wasn't thrilled about a guest. Shin lay awake that night, debating whether to fly back, until reality struck. She couldn't afford even a boarding pass for her thoughts. She settled on taking the train. Elsewhere, Lee-han sat with photos of people he believed were involved in Shojin's disappearance. He went to the same police inspector he had met 6 years ago, only to hear again that there was no record of Shojin's existence. But for Leon, his best friend was very real, even if the police treated him like a guy who watched too many conspiracy dramas. The next morning, while Shin waited her turn to brush, the rude daughter shoved past her and left for school. Zhang ran after her with a lunchbox but was suddenly hit by a falling flower pot. Shin rushed to help, and the neighborhood descended into panic mode. The culprit turned out to be the mentally unstable child again. Zhang was rushed to the hospital, but the bill was huge. Her daughter begged Shin to help, guilt-tripping her with lines like, "My mom took such good care of you." Shin refused at first, claiming she wasn't rich and not running a charity. But after some dramatic cries, she turned back and gave what money she had. The daughter added a few coins, and they made a partial payment, promising to pay the rest soon. Just then, Li-han appeared like a conveniently timed ATM and paid the bill. There was some extra change, which Shin swiped so smoothly it could have been a scene from Now You See Me. After thanking him, she completed the hospital formalities. Exhausted, Shin sat outside staring at people eating while her stomach sang the national anthem. Li-han showed up again. Thinking he'd come to ask for his money back, Shin preemptively snapped that he should ask the kid and her mom. She was broke. Li-han, baffled by her attitude, asked about her injury. She dismissed him rudely and turned to leave. But her head started hurting, and she fainted. She woke up in the hospital where a nurse delivered a complete diagnosis like a breakfast-time TED Talk, then told her someone had already paid her bill. Li-han handed her a glass of water, but she refused and mockingly asked if he had never seen a pretty girl before and was here to flirt. She kept teasing him while he looked like he was internally filing a mental HR complaint. Then came her grand declaration. She was the CEO's daughter from Shin Group. Li-han was confused and repeated, "Shin Group?" She threatened to call her dad right away, but the call went to Li-han. Shocked, she tried again, same result. Li-han showed her the phone. She was calling him. When she demanded how he got her dad's number, Li-han revealed a news article showing her parents had died in 2009. Shin refused to believe it, calling it fake. Li-han showed her ID details, her real name, and proved that Shin Group didn't even exist. Completely shaken, Shin teared up and quietly walked away. Just then, she bumped into someone who looked exactly like her and stood frozen, completely stunned. The other Shin asked what she was doing there. Shin asked who she was in return. As she looked at her, Shin began to understand everything and realized that the version of herself standing there wasn't really her. She had somehow entered another world, like a parallel universe. Shin understood that somehow she swapped her soul with a person in a parallel world where another Shin existed. When she asked who the other Shin was, that one simply smiled and walked away. Shin then made her way back to the riverside and thought that since she came through water, jumping back in might return her to her world. She assumed there had to be a connection between the two worlds. Thinking that, she jumped into the river. A woman nearby saw her jump and began shouting for help, asking if someone who could swim could save the girl. After a while, Shin herself floated back up, wondering if she had failed to return to her world. While she was still trying to process things, a man pulled her out of the water. Soon, she found herself back in the hospital, where the same officer was questioning her about the attempted suicide. Shin kept insisting that she didn't try to kill herself. He asked if she had a broken heart, to which she replied that it wasn't like that. The officer began scolding her, pointing out how many people she had disturbed by jumping into the water. Shin listened quietly, and when she turned, she saw Leon approaching. She immediately turned her face back toward the officer. Li-han came over and greeted the officer, who acknowledged him and asked him to follow. Before leaving, Li-han handed Shin some clothes to change into. Later, he sat down with Li-han and asked about his relationship with Shin, whether they were classmates or friends. Li-han clarified they were classmates, confirming they knew each other earlier, but now it seems like her friend's mental health is declining because she is behaving very differently. The officer then delivered a mini lecture on how young people these days rushed into friendships and relationships only to end up heartbroken. Li-han simply listened without arguing. The officer said he would let Shin go for now, but advised Li-han to make sure she didn't try anything like that again. Then he mentioned his friend and asked if Li-han found any information about Shojin. The officer repeated that there was no such person and asked how he was expected to give details about someone who didn't exist. When Shin came out, she saw Li-han and immediately changed direction. Still, Li-han followed her. She turned and asked why he was following her. Li-han asked why she was acting like she didn't know him. Meanwhile, Shin started wondering what kind of bond the Shin from this world had with Li-han. Li-han told her that if she found a safe place to stay, he'd stop following her. adding that the city was dangerous and after all, they were from the same village. Shin then thought he was only following her because of their shared origin, but she was determined to shake him off. She ran and hid, but no matter where she went, she kept bumping into Lee Han like he was a poorly coded video game NPC stuck on follow mode. Eventually, she gave up and silently let him accompany her. They reached a washroom and Shin rushed into the ladies' room, where Lee Han obviously couldn't follow. Inside, she spotted a window and escaped through it. Outside, when a woman exited the washroom, Lee Han asked if a girl was still inside. The woman informed him that nobody was there, but a girl had escaped through the window. That's when Lee Han figured it must have been Shin. Meanwhile, Shin looked for food and shelter. She found a place that smelled amazing, but the prices scared her more than the parallel universe did. She moved on and found another shop where food was still pricey, so she decided to take less than half a bowl of rice just to save money. The vendor gave her a look that said, "Are you serious?" but still gave her the food. Shin cleared a spot and sat down to eat. Lee Han was looking for her and happened to see Shin eating while walking. He quietly watched her eat without disturbing her. Shin, meanwhile, was crying as she ate. After finishing her meal, as she started to leave, two men on a bike tried to snatch her bag, but Shin refused to let go. As a group of men tried to escape after stealing, Lee Han appeared right on cue and scared them into dropping the bag and running. But just when they thought they could flee, they were cornered by police in front and knocked down from behind by Lee Han, completing the perfect ambush. The police arrested the culprits. As Shin sat down again, Lee Han approached, prompting her to immediately ask why he was stalking her. He offered her money for a place to stay, but she refused, proudly claiming she'd rather find a job. She also questioned whether he had lost his mind for following her and playing guardian angel. Lee Han admitted with zero shame that yes, he was indeed that crazy guy meddling in her life, and asked bluntly whether she would have even survived the night without him. Then he walked off. And like someone reluctantly picking up free samples while pretending they don't want them, Shin quietly took his cash and followed him. He stopped in front of a hotel, pointed at it, and left. Shin went inside and asked for the cheapest room. It was 200 yuan, without breakfast. This led to an intense food versus shelter debate in her head just before she spotted a poster for a job at an internet cafe. Choosing to earn her bed and noodles, she ditched the hotel plan and left. Soon after, Lee Han returned and asked the receptionist about Shin. The man told him she left after hearing that breakfast wasn't free. Lee Han scolded him for not just feeding her, then asked where she went. He was told she headed to the internet cafe job. Meanwhile, Shin reached the cafe and stood in a line of girls, only to realize it was a dance audition. When her turn came, the guy in charge looked like a zombie forced to stay awake. He asked her to dance. Her moves were about as thrilling as watching paint dry. But when told to look hotter, she awkwardly complied and somehow got hired. When she asked why hot dressing mattered for an internet cafe, the man blinked in disbelief and revealed it was actually a live streaming job. Not wanting to be on camera, Shin asked for proper cafe work. She was taken to a back office and shown her tasks, along with strict instructions to avoid the cash counter. When she asked about food, he offered unlimited noodles, on the condition that she worked more. Shin, ever the survivor, happily agreed. Noodles were her love language. Meanwhile, Lee Han kept searching internet cafes but couldn't find her. Back at the cafe, just as Shin was about to eat, a friend from her original timeline showed up with food. Overjoyed, she asked how he got there. He said he time traveled too and claimed he knew how to return, but told her to eat first. She cried happy tears only to wake up and realize it was all a dream. She had been sleeping after her night shift and was promptly scolded by her boss for earning too little. Shin coolly replied, she earned what she could. The boss asked how he was supposed to pay the others with her low earnings. She didn't argue, just asked if she could sleep. He told her to use the storeroom, but then creepily offered his own house instead. Shin silently walked off to the storeroom. There, she stared at her phone, the only thing she brought with her, and wondered if it could help her return. Meanwhile, Lee Han continued searching and heard from someone that she might be at an illegal cafe. Later, Shin woke up, went outside to buy food, and got herself a charger to revive her phone. While leaving, she called her father, but no one answered. Then a message popped up. "Child, is that you?" She was thrilled, thinking it was her dad. But the caller turned out to be a scammer, claiming her father was in the ICU. Shin, remembering her parents were dead in this world, furiously threw her phone away. When it rang again, she rushed to retrieve it, hoping it really was her father this time, only to be left shocked by what she heard on the line. It was Lee-han again, but she stayed silent and walked away. On her way out, she bumped into Lee-han again, who began asking where she was last night. He claimed to have searched for her the entire night. She shot back, saying it wasn't his business. Lee-han, with sad puppy eyes, asked if she had truly forgotten him. Shin thought to herself that while she didn't know who he was, it didn't seem like he was the person she was searching for. She told him to stop following her and left. Lee-han watched her walk into the illegal internet cafe, and he wondered how he could leave her in such a state. He said investigating Shojin was impossible if Shin was suffering like this. Time passed. Shin got back to work, ate daily, and watched her money slowly vanish, just like her patients. One day, while eating, a stray dog came near her, and in a moment of unexpected generosity, she offered it her food, saying she now understood how hard life was for the homeless. No home, no food, no clue. Suddenly, someone yelled from inside and called her back to work. Bihan, who was stalking her with full commitment, saw everything. He called a friend to ask if they were still hiring. While at her work, one client asked Shin for a Coke. When she gave it, he touched her hand and wouldn't let go. She yanked her hand back, but the guy joked that he didn't want that Coke and asked for another one. With the grace of a volcano, she slammed a second one into his hand. As she walked away, he touched her again, prompting her to lose it. She grabbed him and started beating him, yelling if he'd dare touch her again. The guy apologized faster than a kid caught stealing candy. The boss showed up and asked if she was going to call the police. She snapped that she would, because illegal places like this feared cops more than cockroaches feared light. The boss tried to deny her salary, claiming she didn't work the full month. She retorted that in that case, she'd gladly tell the police everything. The threat worked. He paid her. She walked out triumphantly with 300 yuan, 200 of which she owed Lian from a time when she had no place to stay. Determined to return the money, she called Lee-han and asked where he was. She reached his home, knocked several times, but no one answered. Trying another door, she found it open after a dramatic stomp. She entered cautiously, stood outside, and started eating. Suddenly, some shady men showed up asking about Lee-han. She told them she was waiting for him too. They took her food and started shouting. When Lee-han arrived, they tossed his food too and turned on him. Lee-han gave them a solid beating. Shin, terrified, hid and planned her escape once the men fled. But as she tried to leave, Lee-han blocked her and asked if she wasn't there to return his money. Nervously, she handed over the cash. He asked if she was scared of him. She denied it, clearly lying. Lee-han explained he wasn't like those guys. He had invested in a small business, and those people came after him when things went wrong. Shin still returned his money, but tried to leave. But Lee-han took her to his house. He cooked while chatting, even asked if she wanted water. She declined, spotting a knife in his hand like she was in a crime thriller. She sat there thinking she should have just Venmo'd the money and left. She told Lee-han she came only to return the cash. As she got up, he asked if she wouldn't stay for curry rice. Her stomach answered for her and she sat back down. While eating, she thought he wasn't at all like she had imagined. He even brought fruits just for her, which she ate like a squirrel hiding snacks for winter. Curiously, she wandered into a room where she saw evidence Lee-han had collected. She panicked and tried to run, thinking he might be a secret serial killer. Lee-han caught her at the door and asked where she was going. She blurted out that they met by chance and he helped her. Lee-han teased her. First she claimed they met randomly, then said they were from the same town. "Pick a plotline, woman," was written all over his face. She tried escaping again, but he pinned her to the wall. She yelled for help, saying a man was harassing her. He calmly told her to shut up and follow his instructions. With no choice, she climbed onto his bike, and he took her to a salon where he wanted her to work. Shin, jobless and tired, stayed. Once there, she asked the manager if they knew each other. The manager joked that maybe he'd become too handsome for her to recognize. He showed her around the salon, bragging to the staff like it was a 5-star hotel. Shin didn't smile once. She simply asked if food would be included. Manager assured her that meals and accommodation were part of the job. She agreed. The salon owner handed her a uniform and introduced her to her supervisor, who clearly wasn't interested in being friendly. Afterward, Shin whispered to the boss that it looked like he feared the supervisor. He denied it and insisted she should learn from her since she knew more. Meanwhile, Leon was still trying to figure out why Shin had never looked for him before, and why she reappeared after 6 years while staring at her old high school photo. Shin, now in her new room, was told to wake up early and be ready for work at 9 sharp. Boss told her that Leon wouldn't be able to visit her for now, but promised to come when he got free. Upon hearing this, she began wondering aloud why he would even come to see her. This made her even more curious, and she started questioning whether the two even knew each other. Boss told her how she moved to the city without informing him. Apparently, he was devastated by her absence, practically heartbroken. And based on the boss's words, it seemed they were definitely in a relationship. The boss even remarked that he had never seen Lehan care for anyone the way he did for her during her mysterious vanishing act. With that, he walked off, leaving her to sit alone in her room, overthinking Lehan's constant presence whenever she was in trouble. Then, as if planning a return trip to Narnia, she decided she would wait a bit and go back to her world, and eventually drifted off to sleep. The next morning, everyone seemed to be waiting for Shin, who arrived fashionably late. As she entered quietly without calling anyone, her boss immediately stopped her, asking why she was late and reminding her that he specifically told her to set an alarm. He pointed out that she didn't even inform her roommate to wake her up. Shin, trying to sound casual, said she slept early and didn't even know who her roommate was, hadn't even seen her. The boss found this excuse so weak it could have tripped over a speed bump. He then introduced all the girls to her and told them they were now colleagues. He also informed her that today's task was cleaning and even explained the cleaning tools. She got to work but accidentally poured water in the area used by customers. A supervisor passing by gave her a solid scolding and walked off. When she went for lunch, no one offered her food or even told her where it was. One girl bluntly told her to find it herself. Meanwhile, the boss overheard everything and, seeing her quietly walk away, asked her to come with him to his office. He even had her lunchbox waiting there. Just as she was about to eat, he began lecturing her on behaving well and respecting others. She nonchalantly asked why she should show respect, causing boss to flare up like a pressure cooker. He questioned her about how she would treat a customer. Was this the attitude she'd display? She shrugged and said, "Why should I care?" as if customer service was a concept from Mars, and walked off with her lunchbox. Seeing this, the boss muttered that Lehan was right to be constantly annoyed with her behavior. After eating, as she tried to leave, a group of girls blocked her way and asked her to clean the table. She approached them and started wiping the table in such an intense manner that they got scared and asked what on earth she was doing. She reminded them that they told her to clean, so that's exactly what she was doing. As she walked away, the girls whispered that she could have just said no, instead of acting like a tornado with a cleaning rag. Outside, Lehan was waiting for her. She asked if he was really waiting for her, and he replied that he was just checking if her work was done. She firmly said she wouldn't go with him. He looked at her and asked if she was afraid of him. She replied sarcastically, questioning why she wouldn't be, especially when ordinary people don't usually have security camera stills plastered across their walls like crime dramas. Leanne asked if she really believed he wanted to hurt her, and if so, why he wouldn't have already done it with all the chances he got. She responded by saying he basically admitted it just now. Leanne challenged her. If she really believed he was dangerous, why didn't she tell the police? She stayed quiet, and he asked if she at least reported the internet cafe incident. This reminded her that her ID card was still with the bus guy. Lynn then told her he already informed the police and they caught the criminals. And he also had her ID card, which he returned, saying the bus guy wouldn't bother her anymore. Then he took her to the mall, suggesting she buy some warm clothes. She told him she didn't have money, so he offered to pay for now and said she could repay him later. He picked out a pink dress, which she found utterly hideous. So he showed her another jacket. As she tried on, he told her to turn around. She sassily asked if she came here just to follow his commands, but still turned. He then adjusted her to see the price tag, coming very close, which made her a bit nervous. He pulled off the price tag and told her to keep the jacket on. He even bought more clothes for her. While leaving, she reminded him that just because they were from the same town didn't mean he should stalk her. He asked what she meant, and brought up how she left college in her second year and no one could find her afterward. This triggered a memory of the boss's words about how close they were, and she started wondering if Lehan actually liked Shin, the real-world version of her, and if he found out she wasn't the real Shin, he might ship her off to a mental hospital or the police station. She panicked and ran away, leaving Lehan standing there, speechless. The next day, she was reflecting on the incident of her jumping into the water and thinking about going back to her own world. She even stood near the edge again, ready to jump. But the boss saw her and yelled from below, asking what on earth she was doing now. She gave up on the leap and went back to work. The boss was training everyone on how to treat customers. Shin's turn came, and she accidentally splashed cold water on a customer. The boss gently explained that she should ask customers about their preferred water temperature and pour water slowly. He demonstrated in such an over-the-top way that everyone started laughing. After he left, the girls continued mimicking his demonstration with mock customers, and Shin actually smiled. When the manager returned to check on everyone and noticed Shin was missing, he found her sitting at a PC reading about time travel. He told her to finish her work first and read about time travel later, adding that even he used to think about such things. He removed the drive from the PC and reminded her again to focus on work. Shin didn't listen and kept scrolling. Meanwhile, Lee-han was looking at his cell phone, saying that it never worked after Shojin disappeared. Until now. He believed he was still in this world, just out of reach. A flashback showed how Shojin was making bizarre remarks before leaving, saying he might be the same again, but not in this world. He even said that Lee-han only understand his words when the right time arrived. After that, he made a deal with Lee-han that he'd live his life properly. At work, the boss called all the girls together and announced promotions. Out of everyone, only 2 girls were promoted. Shin was still waiting for her turn. When everyone left, she stopped the boss and asked why she didn't get a promotion. The boss bluntly said her work wasn't up to the mark, and they gave promotions based on customer reviews. Reading from her file, he shared complaints. Shin, frustrated, joked that she could practice on the boss himself, since no one else was available. The boss, suddenly pretending to be a shampoo model, agreed but chickened out mid-hair wash, suddenly remembering an important meeting, and ran off. Shin was left there, confused and annoyed. As she began cleaning up, everyone else had already left. Just then, Lee-lan walked in. He said nothing, and he casually opened the office door using his own set of keys. She asked how he got them, and he replied that he'd invested in the business, so technically he owned a piece of it. When asked if she got the promotion, she said no, but hoped to get it next week. Lear mentioned that the manager told him customers weren't happy with her work. Hearing this, Shin went quiet. Lear-han invited her over and offered to teach her. He started washing her hair and kept checking if the water was warm enough. He was so gentle that Shin got nervous and couldn't even look him in the eyes. Leon massaged her scalp like a pro and asked if she was learning. He dried her hair and told her she now knew how to do the job, so she better sleep early. Beauty sleep was, after all, part of the customer service. Shin spent the night thinking about Lee-han and blushing to herself. A week later, she returned to collect her report and learned she'd failed again. She was furious. Even after Lee-han's help, she thought? The boss handed her the customer feedback, and it was copy-pasted from the last one. No improvement. She started researching how to improve customer interactions and followed all the rules. She decided to start with better cleaning. But her cleaning was so thorough, 2 girls slipped and fell. Shin might have invented the banana peel routine all over again. Plan 2 was that she offered help, but when asked to fetch something, she brought the wrong item. The senior barked at her to get lost. Plan 3 was to join in gossip sessions, but the moment she sat down, the strict senior arrived and everyone scattered like pigeons at a temple. Only Shin was left behind, sitting alone during lunch while everyone else ate together. She thought of doing something nice like buying coffee for everyone, but realized she didn't have enough money. Then she decided to borrow money. When she returned with the coffee ready to play Office Santa, she overheard her colleagues gossiping that she was probably getting promoted because she was too close to the boss. She was stunned. She thought promotions were based on performance, not proximity. Angrily, she stormed to the boss and gave him a piece of her mind. He admitted he didn't like her work anyway and hadn't expected her to find out how promotions actually worked. He told her bluntly that if she made him happy with excellent massages and hair washes, she'd get the promotion. He couldn't fire her because Lee-han brought her in, so he'd fire someone else instead. But she needed to prove herself. Lee-han's recommendation only bought her time, not success. After this confrontation, she left with the coffee still untouched and walked to Lee-han's house, thinking he was her last hope. Leon welcomed her, offered her water and asked if she got the promotion. She stared at him, thinking, Would I really be here if I got it? Somehow he guessed her thoughts just by reading her face and said she must be here for help. She nervously denied it and claimed she just wanted tips on how his massages were so good. Lehan agreed to help. He started demonstrating techniques, explaining each pressure point. As she watched, he leaned closer and asked why she was nervous. She awkwardly replied that she wasn't. When he asked if she understood the lesson, she said she thought she did. Then she switched places and gave Lehan a massage, mirroring his moves. When he looked at her, she asked him to close his eyes because his gaze was making her nervous, as if he were X-ray scanning her soul. He praised her fast learning. After the lesson, Lehan took her outside and told her she now needed a new hairstyle to complete the look. She resisted, saying she came to learn, not to sacrifice her hair, but he dragged her along anyway. When her hair was styled, she was surprised. It looked cute, stylish, and didn't resemble a bird's nest. She showed it off proudly. On the way back, she clarified to Lehan that she wasn't using him. He smiled and said, "So you're not stupid?" She grinned and asked him to repeat that. Lehan was suddenly reminded that she used to say the same thing back in school. So Lehan came and asked her why she was doing this. Shin freed herself and offered to take him out for dinner to make up for it. Hearing that, Lehan let her go and took her to a restaurant where he started ordering a whole buffet. While Shin, seeing the prices climbing faster than a roller coaster, told him they should just eat something small. After the order, Shin hesitated, but confessed she wanted to tell him something. She admitted she came via time travel and explained she wasn't who he thought she was, but someone completely different. As their food arrived, she continued trying to explain while he looked at her. He asked if she thought he was stupid. She insisted she was telling the truth, that she really was a different person. Lien sarcastically agreed, saying yes, she was totally different, probably an alien now. She tried to convince him again, but Lehan pointed out that the way she ate was exactly the same as always, something she had done since childhood. Shin got confused at that, wondering how her eating style could match. She excused herself to use the restroom. As she came out, she ran into a drunk colleague, who immediately ran off to vomit. Meanwhile, the colleague's boyfriend was chatting with his friend, who asked if he really planned to marry that girl. The boyfriend casually revealed he was only with her for family reasons and was just having fun. Shin overheard everything and fumed. When the girl came out, Shin tried dragging her away, but she freed herself and returned to her boyfriend. He asked Shin where she was taking his girlfriend, and Shin pulled her again. The boyfriend followed, but before he could catch up, Lehan arrived and stopped him. Lehan dragged the guy into the women's washroom and started beating him. Shin came back and asked Kay to open her eyes because she overheard everything. The guy was just playing with her. Kay still tried to deny it. Out of frustration, Shin splashed water on her face. That's when Kay confessed her family pushed her to date that guy for financial reasons, hoping his money could help her younger brother's wedding. She admitted Shin ruined her perfect gold-digging plan. The girl turned to Shin and taunted her, saying she had Lien in a life, while the girl had no one. She questioned how she was supposed to survive without doing something. Just as she was finishing her monologue, she noticed Lien watching. He asked if she would leave on her own, and she agreed. Lien gave her bag back and told her to go. Seeing this, Shin started thinking that Lien really cared about everyone, but she was still angry and muttered to herself about how the guy let his girlfriend get drunk on the first date, like he was planning something shady. She asked Lien if he was still mad and if he still wanted them to be strangers. Lien only asked what she would do if she were in Kay's position. Shin replied she would do what's right in life. Lien, touched by her honesty, said that was why she would succeed and walked away. Later, at work, Shin tried the same sweet-talking technique on her boss, knowing he was the one handing out promotions. She massaged his head so well, he commented that something about her voice made him feel a crunch. Shin got frustrated and replied that whether she spoke politely or not, he always found something wrong. Eventually, he asked her to continue just like before. She resumed the massage and hair wash, and thanks to her top-tier service, she got a promotion and a new badge, leaving her grinning like she won a reality show. While changing her badge, Kay came to thank her and appreciated that she didn't tell anyone. Shin said she didn't see the point in gossiping. Kay promised to get others to vote for her during the promotion evaluations. Shin stopped her and flashed her new badge proudly, saying she didn't need charity. If she wanted something, she'd earn it herself. With a sense of pride, she walked away like a boss, and called Lee-han to share the news that she'd passed her test and got promoted, all thanks to his coaching. She told Lee-han she was standing outside his house and wanted to treat him, but Lee-han said he was on a business trip and they could eat together another day. Shin, picking up the tone, told him to just say no if he didn't want to come. There was no need for such fancy excuses. Lee-han insisted he was genuinely away and would return the next day for her treat. Turns out, Lee-han was actually visiting Shin's grandmother, who was overjoyed to see him. She mentioned it had been so long she barely recognized him. They chatted and talked about Shin. Grandma explained that Shin dropped out of college to earn money, despite her mother's objections. She made good money, but after returning, she started drinking and smoking a lot. Neighbors began to gossip, and even though her mother tried to stop her, Shin wouldn't quit. Lee-han listened to her, and the next day, as planned, in the restaurant he stared at Shin, thinking about what her grandma said. Still, Lee-han didn't let her drink, and instead drank on her behalf. Shin even returned the money he had spent on her clothes and other things. Lee-han took the money, but asked why she didn't reach out for help. He said he would have helped if she came back to him. Shin was confused because she didn't know the old Shin or what emotional history they shared. Lee-han confessed he broke his promise. He had said he would come meet her, but he left without saying anything. He asked her to tell him if she was angry, instead of pretending nothing had happened. Shin, after hearing all that, finally began to speak, telling him again that she wasn't the same Shin. Shin told Lee-han to forget the past and move on. Lee-han protested how he could forget about the past, and then agreed to try forgetting her as she suggested. As he was about to leave, Shin came and stopped him, pleading with him to try letting go of the past. She reminded him that when she arrived, he was the first person she met. She had considered him her friend and shared everything with him, but he didn't even trust her words. She explained that she needed friends more than anyone because she didn't have any family. Hearing this, Lee-han softened a bit. Shin again told him that she was not aware of his past relationship with old Shin, but for now he could be her friend. She said they could start a new friendship, and listening to this, Lee-han gave her his umbrella. She took the umbrella, but mentioned it was so big, so why couldn't he share it with her? Then he joined her, and Lee-han hugged her, saying if she really wanted friendship, then he was ready to be her friend too. He told her that she could come to him anytime she needed something. She replied, saying that this also meant that he could come to her too whenever he needed someone. It shouldn't just be one-sided. Lee-han agreed and called her his friend. Their friendship began, and she saved his number under the name Friend after removing her dad's name. She slept happily that night because she had found a friend. The next day, Shin was at work, where she confidently stood at the front of the line. Seeing this, others told her to leave first position in the row, but Shin refused to step back, so Kay and the others pulled her back and reminded her about the rule, that seniors always stand at the front, and the rest follow. Jin protested when seniors monopolized all customers, leaving juniors like her with none. The others, including Kay, accepted it, explaining that breaking the rule would anger the seniors. After finishing work, Kay noticed Shin still had no customers and joked about it. Jin replied that customers couldn't reach her because the seniors stood ahead. Customers preferred seniors due to familiarity, but when a new customer arrived and asked Kay for a hair wash, she passed it to Shin. The customer praised Shin's massage, saying it was better than the seniors. Encouraged, Shin shared an idea with Kay to impress customers so much they'd return specifically for them. They started treating customers exceptionally well, even asking for positive online reviews, which boosted their popularity. Soon, Shin gained a reputation online. Clients began specifically asking for her, making Senior Hella jealous. One day, a client even refused service until Shin arrived, citing her good reviews. Shin shared her success with Lee-han, who celebrated with her. Later, Shin's boss advised her to act wisely while he was away. Meanwhile, Hella was serving a client allergic to peanuts. When the client asked for Shin, Hella convinced Shin to go, but the client said she was actually waiting for Hella and had only asked Shin to bring a cupcake. Shin fetched the cupcake, but Kay warned her that Hella had likely switched them and only peanut ones were left in the fridge, implying a possible setup. Shin remained unaware as she walked back with the cupcake. Shin, unaware, gave the cupcake to the client, who immediately spit it out and accused Shin of doing it deliberately, even after she had mentioned her allergy. She warned Shin that she would see how to deal with her. Furious, Shin went to confront Hella, and a full-blown fight broke out between them while a video was being secretly recorded. The supervisor arrived and scolded both of them for fighting in front of a customer, saying it was fortunate that the customer was unharmed. Shin learned that Kei knew about the peanut issue but didn't warn her. Kei apologized, but Shin said their friendship was over. She thought Kei was her true friend, but now she was disappointed. Kei cried and confessed she didn't want to hurt Shin, but Hella had threatened her that if she said anything, she would be the next target. Shin told her to leave, and she sat in silence, remembering she had time traveled to this place. She realized her priority should be finding a way back, not getting caught up in these issues. While searching, she came across an article written by Lee Han about his disappearing friend. It mentioned that no one remembered the friend, as if he had never existed. Shin looked through school photos and began to feel dizzy, realizing she was in the same school and someone was calling out to her. Even Lee Han was there. Shin couldn't understand how she could come here, because a moment ago, she was sitting in the office.